everyone, and thank you for joining us for the Phoenix and Central Region session of the Arizona Office of Tourism's regional webinar series. Today, we'll be walking through high-level insights for the state, Phoenix and Central Region, and Maricopa and Pinal counties. Just a quick note, some of the numbers have been routed for easier viewing, so they may not reflect the exact figures. We have an exciting session ahead. First, we'll kick things off with our Arizona-specific data, where we'll take a closer look at what's happening across the state. In 2024, Arizona welcomed about 41.2 million overnight visitors, which remained about the same compared to 2023, up 0.7% compared to last year and 1.3% compared to pre-pandemic levels in 2019. More impressively, total visitor spending reached about $29.7 billion, a 1.4% increase over last year, and a significant 16.2% increase compared to 2019. Let's take a look at travel spending across the state over the past 3 years. The orange line represents 2022, the blue line represents 2023, and the purple line represents 2024. While the lines may appear close together, 2024 actually outperformed both previous years. If you look at the peaks in the trend line, you'll notice that spring continues to be our high season, and 2024 followed that same pattern. In fact, travel spending in March 2024 reached around $4 billion. Let's take a look at statewide visitation for 2024 on a quarterly basis, compared to 2023 in purple and 2019 in blue. Overall overnight visitation in 2024 shows modest growth compared to 2023 and has surpassed 2019 levels in the second and fourth quarters. This growth is being driven primarily by the leisure and resident travel segments. For example, in Q2 2024, resident visitation was up a strong 7%, and leisure visitation increased 4.6% compared to the same period in 2019. In contrast, the business travel segment continues to lag, with visitation in Q1 and Q3 of 2024 down about 3% and 5% respectively compared to 2019. Moving on to our last state focus section, international visitation. In 2024, Arizona welcomed about 5.3 million international visitors, with over 85% of those visitors coming from North America, which consists of Canada and Mexico. Europe is the second largest market with about 8.3% of visitors, followed by Asia Pacific with 4.4%. If you look at the green chart, we can see that international visitation is growing steadily from 3 million in 2021 to 5.3 million in 2023. While we haven't recovered to 2019 6.1 million visitors, things are moving in the right direction. Now that we've covered what's happening across the state, let's zoom in on Phoenix and Central regions. The counties specifically are Maricopa and Pinal to see what's happening out there. Overall, the Phoenix and Central region saw positive growth in travel spending in 2024. Maricopa County, the region's largest market, reached $1.5 billion, a 1.3% increase from last year. Pinal County followed with $981.6 million, up 3.7% year over year. Both counties continue to show steady tourism growth in 2024. Now let's take a look at travel impacts. In Maricopa County, overall travel spending grew modestly by 1.3%, while the labor market showed strength with a 5.4% rise in employment and an 8% increase in earnings, likely reflecting steady year-over-year gains across multiple sectors. Tax receipts and food services rose by 2% and 3.7% respectively, while accommodation spending saw a slight 0.4% decrease. In Pinal County, travel spending increased by 3.7%, supported by a healthy labor market with employment up 4.1% and earnings rising 6.4%. Tax receipts and food services also grew, up 5.2% and 6.5% respectively. While accommodation spending climbed 6.5%, Pinal County was among the few in Arizona to see growth across every sector, reflecting continued momentum and growing visitor interest in the area. Now turning to spending by accommodation type. Maricopa County's 2024 visitor mix remained nearly similar to 2023, showing only slight shifts across categories. The market continues to be driven primarily by traditional lodging, with hotels, motels, and short-term vacation rentals accounting for 60.8% of spending. Private homestays followed at 23%, while day trips made up 11.9%, underscoring the county's strong base of overnight visitors. Pinal counties shows a different pattern compared to Maricopa. In Maricopa, hotels, motels, and short-term rentals dominated at 60.8%, whereas Pinal is mainly driven by private homes, which account for 44.6%, up slightly from last year. Day trips and vacation homes also play a bigger role in Pinal at 20.9%, while traditional lodging makes up just 11.9% of the mix. Overall, Pinal's visitor base leans more toward residential stays compared to Maricopa's hotel-focused market. On this chart, we're looking at spending by commodity in Maricopa County. Overall, 2024 was fairly steady, with modest increase in food services, food stores, arts and entertainment, and recreation. Local transportation and gas saw a slight decrease, which aligns with trends we've seen across most counties in Arizona. In Pinal County, spending increased across nearly every sector, with the exception of local transportation and gas. The most notable growth came from the food service sector, which rose by 20 million to reach 341.7 million. Arts, entertainment, and recreation also saw solid gains, along with lodging and retail. Overall, 2024 was a strong year for Pinal County, reflecting a well-rounded and thriving tourism economy. Moving on to our next section, let's turn our attention to lodging performance. The short-term rental market in the Phoenix and Central region constricted, with a decrease of supply with about 100,000, but an increase in demand of about 100,000, showing growing interest in Phoenix short-term vacation rentals. In our next section, we will focus on airport passenger traffic in the Phoenix Central region. For state-level data, please go to our website at tourism.az.gov. In 2024, domestic passenger traffic at Phoenix Sky Harbor stayed above 2023 and 2022 levels for most of the year, with a sharp spike in March, nearing 5 million passengers. Phoenix Mesa also saw a 4.2% increase in visitation year over year. March was the busiest month, slightly below 2022 and 2023, but the biggest change came during the summer months, June through August, when we saw a notable uptick in visitors. Overall, 2024 reinforced Phoenix's role as a key travel hub with strong airport activity reflecting sustained visitor demand. Moving right along to state and national park visitation data for the Phoenix Central region. In 2024, state park visitation in Phoenix and Central Arizona declined by 13.8%. This drop was largely driven by the Picachow Peak, which saw a 29.8% decrease, and Lost Dutchman State Park, down 3.7%. Both parks are the region's most visited parks. Visitation in the Phoenix Central region followed the same seasonal rhythm across all 3 years, peaking in March and tapering sharply through the summer. However, total visitation declined from 111,392,000 in 2023 to 104,429,000 in 2024, decreasing 6.3%, making a modest slowdown after a year of strong recovery. This decrease was driven by a 6.3% drop in attendance at the region's largest attraction, Casa Grande Ruins National Monument. Let's shift over to gross sales in the Phoenix Central region. In 2024, Maricopa County's gross sales remained mostly steady, with some variation across sectors. Hotel and motel sales increased 1%, supported by strong spring and steady fall activity. Restaurant sales rose 2%, reflecting steady demand for dining. Retail sales was mostly flat, increasing 0.3%, while amusements experienced the largest decline, falling 11% compared to 2023. In 2024, Pinal County's gross sales showed a mix of trends across sectors. Hotel sales grew 4%, supported by strong spring and fall activity. Restaurants saw a 7% increase, reflecting steady demand for food and beverage. Retail sales edged up 2%, while amusement declined 16%, showing a pullback in recreation and entertainment spending compared to 2023. We've reached our final section. Let's take a look at what visitors in the Phoenix Central region are doing. In 2024, travel to the Phoenix and Central region was primarily leisure-driven. Nearly 7% of visitors came to visit friends and relatives, attend special events, or go touring. Business-related travel made up about 12% of trips, showing that while leisure dominates, there's still a meaningful share of professional and work-related visits. In the Phoenix and Central region, traditional lodging options, hotels, resort hotels, and motels are the most popular, used by over 60% of visitors. Staying with friends and relatives comes next, with about 26% of visitors choosing this option, showing that while most travelers rely on commercial accommodations, personal stays remain an important part of the mix. Now let's take a look at visitor summaries. In 2024, about 86% of Maricopa County visitors stayed overnight. The highest among the Phoenix Central counties. About 70% were repeat visitors, showing a steady return market. The average day was 3.8 days on the longest stay times in all our counties. Phoenix was a top source at 12%, followed by Los Angeles and Tucson, showing strong in-state and regional travel. Repeat visits were highest from Phoenix and Albuquerque, Santa Fe, over 77%, while long-haul stay visitors from Chicago, New York, and Seattle stayed the longest, averaging about 6.5 days. Overall, Maricopa County attracts a mix of short in-state trips and longer out-of-state stays, supporting steady, year-round tourism growth. Moving on to Pinal County. In 2024, about 76% of Pinal County visitors stayed overnight, with roughly 70% being repeat visitors, highlighting a loyal visitor base. The average trip lasted 2.2 days. Phoenix led as a top origin market, contributing over half of overnight visitors, followed by Tucson and Los Angeles, showing strong regional and in-state travel. Repeat visitation was highest among Phoenix travelers at over 74%, while long-distance visitors from Chicago, Seattle, and Minneapolis stayed the longest, averaging around 6.5 days. Overall, Pinal County draws a healthy mix of quick regional trips and extended out-of-state stays, supporting consistent year-round tourism. That wraps up our webinar on the Phoenix and Central region of Arizona. For more details on which counties make up each region, you can refer to this map. Be sure to tune in next time as we continue with the next session of the Arizona Office of Tourism's regional webinar series. For more regional data, please visit us at tourism.az.gov and navigate to the regional profile section or scan the QR code. If you have any questions on what we covered today or other research questions, please feel free to contact us. We hope the data we provided today is helpful. Thank you for joining us.